We told them to hook up the 50 megabytes per second. And, you know, earlier this morning, it was testing out at like 10.
It's lightning fast.
So they didn't say anything about permanent, consistent internet service.
Yeah.
But they certainly haven't been able to deliver the 50 megabits yet.
All right, we'll talk about that later. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to call the meeting to order. We've got a lot to talk about today, and welcome to everybody that's here. I hope we get a whole lot more people clicking into this session on this beautiful morning. First of all, I want to say how sad I am to report that our four-legged furry ambassador Rocco has passed away. I know that we're all going to miss him a lot. The Sid Weber chipping, putting, and cornhole event is going to be held on tomorrow, I think, from 10 to 12 at the putting green at the club. You just buy a ticket for $5 and you get to play all the events, and they have prizes, food. It's going to be a lot of fun, and of course the money goes to a wonderful cause. Thank you to the Sid Weber folks. The responsibility, we're collecting the data from the city survey, and we'll be sharing that with everybody after we aggregate all the data. The council members will be contacting all the citizens that indicated they would like to be contacted either with a question or a comment. So we'll be contacting you all soon. Thank you all for participating in that. And just a reminder to all our people in internet land that this is a workshop. We don't really make any decisions. We're just discussing issues and receiving comments. So with that in mind, let's go to item 2, which is the adoption of the agenda. I know you all got a copy of it. Do I hear a motion to accept the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Anybody opposed? Okay, so now it is, it's a go.
All right.
Next, go ahead. Did you say something?
No, well, I was just going to get started. You said it's a go.
It's a go. Next is our city manager report. And Ella, I think what we could do is, as you discuss each item, we'll just let the council ask questions and make remarks, and rather than going through the whole list and then coming back, if that's okay with you.
That's fine.
All right, take it away, Ella.
All right. The first item on our list is the paving. I sent you all an original spreadsheet that I need to make one correction to. And I started doing my research for my SPLOTS presentation. I'm like, originally on y'all's report that I sent you, I put on here on the SPLOTS report that we only had 200 for paving. We actually have $240,000 for paving. So that leaves us in a much better light. As you know, I did not receive any valid bids. The only bid that I got was from Colwell that came in at 3 o'clock. Bids were due at 2. So therefore I had to reject Colwell's bid, and I have not even opened their bid since it was after the time that it was supposed to have been here. So what I did was I reached out to John Howard, that, as you all know, John does a lot of our paving and stuff around here. He does it for Clayton. He does it for Mountain City, several of the other smaller cities. And he utilizes their SPLOTS funds, but the way they have done it in the past is they have allowed him to give them a bid for the actual labor itself, and then the city would be responsible for the purchasing of the asphalt and the rock. And on your spreadsheet, he provided me with the tonnage, so I was able to make contact with a gentleman, 2 different ones at the different locations for pricing. And just keep in mind, these are all estimates based on the yardage that we have on these roads. So, you know, these may not be, as they say, set in stone, but they should be pretty close. But just to give you an idea, because the way I had bid out the project, we originally had bid out like Alex Mountain with a alternative bid of Rebel and Evergreen. But due to the fact that our funds were limited, John, after he presented Alex and got it all together, he felt like Rebel, that's pretty much what we're going to be able to do with the funds that we have. His labor, as you see, is the $96,963.95. And also the asphalt and rock, that comes to, let's see, it's about $155,000 for both. And that's the total of the $252,686. That includes the asphalt, the rock, and the labor. And on your original report, like I said, I presented that, give you the wrong amount. So we had $240,000 in SPLOST fund, and I'll go over that in a little bit too. That's part of my stuff. And then remember, we already had applied for LMIG for this year, and we got $34,156.51 that we already have a check for. That's the total funds of $274,156.51. That leaves an excess of $21,469.56. I just want to caution you all that if we, if y'all decide y'all want to move forward with this, I would recommend at this time is that if we decide we want to do this as it is, as John has presented this, that we do what we have here, like Alex Mountain and Rebel Circle. And if we have an excess in actual asphalt or rock, that we'll have enough funds available to do excess amounts. I don't want us to have to dip into our general fund. As you all know, funds are tight this year. So I just want to make sure we're in the right position. And what we can do if we get on down the road, it gets closer to the end and he realizes he's got money to do additional work, we can come back to you all and do a change order for an additional part of a road or something like that if we need to move forward. Because just remember, with SPLOST funding, it has to be bid out the way it was, because I have to bid it out, and you have special requirements. So I just want to reiterate that it can only be done a certain way. So just want to caution you all on that. Any questions about what we can do or what we need to do with the paving or moving forward?
Yes, Ella.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks for that update. In visiting with some of our citizens, it came to my attention that there was a gentleman named Bob Sprecher. I don't know if you know Bob, retired civil engineer. And apparently some time ago, he did a fairly comprehensive analysis of all the roadways in Sky Valley and had some recommendations on what we should be taking priority, both from a safety standpoint, et cetera. And he indicated to me that he had turned that report into City Hall. So my question is, have you seen that? Do we have it? I have
not seen that report, no, sir. Do you know when he turned it in? I don't remember seeing it.
It was probably a couple, 3 years ago.
No, I probably wouldn't have never seen it then.
All right. Well, I'll see if he can give me a copy of that, because I think it'd be useful. We got a high level professional there that has made some assessments, and
right,
very helpful.
Yeah, and also too, I'll let you know, when I bid out the project, I did bid out for it to do some milling on the roads. As you all know, we have, and I'll put it up here so you can see, you have a good 6 to 8 inches and on some of our roads. And if you're in a small vehicle and you go off to the side, you can't get back up unless you have, a four-wheel drive or all-wheel drive vehicle. So what John has recommended in lieu of doing the milling, in this price that he has presented us for Alex Mountain and Rebel Circle, includes building up the road, taking the roads down and also building up the sides. that would, because that's one thing I've seen in the past, dealt with paving contracts for several years. And that's the one thing I have just been in awe that the sides of the roads were never.
Yeah, and that was my other question, Ella, was that going to be included in the scope of this bid?
Yes.
So that we're taking care of some of those shoulders.
Yes, they're in really bad shape, because, when you just keep adding asphalt on top of asphalt,
Yeah.
you're not helping your situation, actually. You need to build up the sides of the roads too. And that was one thing I wanted to make sure we did with this project.
And just exactly how would the sides of the roads be built up?
He would bring in, that's why the additional rock was included in this. He would bring in additional rock, and there would be additional materials that would be brought in to build them up to be the same level as the road.
So it turned out that well, never mind. We've got shoulder issues on Alpine from 5+ years ago when that was paved. And it sounds like that we've got the provisions made not to have huge drop-offs built again, because we're going to mill it down and because we're going to build up the shoulders at the same time.
No, we will not. This does not include any milling and that was the one thing with talking with John. John said that in lieu, that's why I was saying it was in lieu of milling that he would build up the sides of the road. You cannot, he said that it's particularly Alex is too steep. It's too expensive to come up here and do any milling. We're not on flat land like I'm used to. So you got too much of an embankment, and just to get the piece of equipment up here, and also for the stabilization of the equipment, it's just not feasible. It's just too expensive to do it. Because he talked to them and tried to get some estimates, and just the staging part for bringing equipment up like that is super expensive. Have you ever seen one of those milling machines and how wide they are?
Yes.
They're as wide or wider than the road. So that's another problem that we were going to get into as well.
Ella, did he indicate how wide an area on each side of the road he would build up?
Pretty much what they are now. It would go at least probably a foot out on each side to bring it up. You still can't just with the road being here, you would want to bring it in and then drop it down. It wouldn't just be a straight drop off. So I'm sure he's accommodated us for a good level driving area. So if somebody needs to get to the side of the road on some of these roads, that we could do that as well. Alex Mountain is, we have some really steep areas on Alex Mountain. And even though it's wide enough for 2 vehicles, sometimes just because of the terrain, it still is hard. So we still need some, I call them bump outs. We still need some bump outs on, a couple of areas of that.
Did you think he could send us some photos of some of the roadways that he's done this to?
Yeah, he may actually have some that he's done here, because he's actually had done some work for us here already in Scott Valley.
I think
I'm curious on this issue, how he would propose to do that, because we had the same problem on Alpine, and because the drop off is so severe, there wasn't room to do any building up. And I haven't driven Alex Mountain to view that, but in order to build it up, you've got to have something to build it up on.
Well, that's the problem, like with Alpine when it was done. In fact, I've talked to Colwell that did Alpine. They called and talked with me, and because word had got back to them that I didn't want them doing any work here. And I told them, I said, no, I said, that's not the case. I said, my case is when you paved Alpine, you knew you did not prepare the sides of the roads like your contract called for. I said, and you got by with it. I said, so therefore I did not want that to happen to us again. And they said, well, we understand that. And I finally told them, I said, listen, I said, it's not your fault. I said, no one ever told you to come back and do that. I said, you got by with it. I said, but that won't happen again. And he's like, well, I understand that, and we came to an agreement with that, but that should have never been left in that situation. Even though the road is near, there should have been some drop off,
You know,
some
clearly
building
there's-
up to the sides.
clearly there's some spots where that's just going to be impossible to build up the shoulder.
Right,
I think we ought to probably be looking at what kind of alternatives from a safety factor we should consider. You might have to put a rail up.
yeah, we
something
may
like
have some
that.
spots, yeah,
Yeah,
definitely
that are
on Alex.
critical spots like that. So I
Mhm.
think that's for further discussion down the road with this.
Yeah, just keep in mind that these asphalt and rock prices can vary. You know, if we delay these too much, these are only good for so many days, just to give you a heads up.
Well,
And
I'm
also
not,
too,
I'm
yeah,
not suggesting we delay anything, but I think we need to
Okay.
put on our agenda to look at some of these critical areas. And if they can't be built up, what are the other options, you know? to
yeah,
protect
and
them?
that may be something we can use our excess funds for, you know, that we could, especially along Alex or some of the other roads that we need to do this on, definitely.
What is the process of us opening up the bids again so that at least we can get one more bid, Ella?
I'd have to rebid the project, which means redoing the contract, putting it out for bid for 4 weeks. Which delays the process even more.
There's no way to consider the current bid that you got in after the deadline?
Excuse me, to enter it, yeah, I mean, if y'all want to open it, y'all, we definitely can open it. I have it here if y'all want to open it and see what it is.
Are we prohibited from accepting that bid if it's a good one? Just because it missed the deadline?
Well, to me, well,
Probably.
Doug, that's a question you need to answer. So that's a question you need to
He's,
answer.
he's
Sorry.
mute. Oh, there he is.
Okay.
There we go. All right.
Did you hear what he was asking? We have a bid from Colwell that I received after the fact. Did not meet the deadline. It was due at 2. I didn't get it till like 2:54, 2:56 is what I noted on it. He's wanting to know if we can open that and see. I said, yeah, we can, because I didn't open it. I never accept bids when they don't make it by the deadline. But
Did anybody else bid?
no one else bid. That's why I didn't open it, because normally when you just get one bid, you don't open it.
Yeah.
Or someone is, you know,
When you post a deadline like that, they have to meet the deadline. I think what you can do now is if no one bid on it whatsoever, then it's considered that bid's done with. If you want to go ahead and reapproach that company that sent in the bid late and have them submit it again with a new deadline, do it that way. But I'm real hesitant to allow somebody to be late and then give them the bid anyway, just because they were the only one to bid.
Yeah, I think that would open a can of worms. Somebody would cry foul.
I think so. Yeah.
and
So
I
would-
will,
Is that now that we've talked about the bids, the new bidder has knowledge of what the first bidder put in. And so that seems to be sort of weird too.
What bids did y'all talk about? You didn't
This
open them, did you?
no, remember I had emailed you about that this is what some of the other small cities had done around that. The problem that we got into around here is a lot of these people cannot get a
Right.
bond to do the project for the full amount. So therefore they just do the labor and we buy the actual material for the project, which is
Right.
normally, not the case. You normally do contract including everything. So, and I had talked to John and he said he did a lot of the work. So he provided me with a bid for the actual labor and provided me with the estimated tonnage for asphalt and rock. And I had worked up the paving information in the packet, so.
But what you're referring to from John, that was his bid to us that he
No,
gave us.
that was after the fact. I did approach him after the fact. That's why I had asked Doug and I never got a response. So I moved forward with trying to get us something, in writing from a contractor that I'm very familiar with, because John does a lot of work around here. Moody, did he not do work in Clayton? My understanding, he does Clayton work, and he also does Mountain City and several other cities around.
Yeah, he did. He did mostly the patching, but he also paved a couple of roads.
Yeah,
If we rebid this, can we rebid it under those terms where we just bid for the labor, get them to quote labor, and then we provide materials? Can we do it that way, since that's apparently the only way that John can do it?
well, that's what I'm saying, that, like Jim's saying, the price is already out there, so we're giving other bidders an advantage, you know, having John's price out here already.
But we're required to do this by SPLOST?
Well, we've already bid, we already have bid it out. So the thing of, that's why I was asking Doug, since we've already bid it out, got the one laid, and then I reached out to this other guy to give us an alternative to be able to get the paving moving forward. Doug,
Right.
I'm not sure.
Well, I think I've got an understanding now. So the one that we've disclosed publicly, he did not actually bid on it. This was just something that y'all did on the
After
side.
the fact, right. He presented this, he presented me with a quote and this information to
Okay.
be able to move forward, because this is what he has done in other cities.
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's not good for him, but he's in a different situation than if he had bid on the project and
Right.
gone through the process. This was just something on the side, and I would say that he just voluntarily submitted these numbers to the city, and we didn't really owe him a duty to keep any of that secret because it was outside of the bidding process. So if y'all wanted to bid it out again and give these other firms a chance to meet the deadline this time, then I think it would be fine.
If I bid it out again, per SPLOST rules, though, my understanding is that I would have to, if I advertise it, it has to be advertised for the 4 weeks again.
Does it? Yeah.
See,
Okay.
that's the thing, and that's what SPLOST gets you, because you have to be very specific, you
Yeah.
know. And I've got LMIG funding this too, so I've met my requirements for bidding out, you know, with what I've already done. So that's why I was wondering.
All right, so you've followed the procedures of SPLOST to bid it out. Nobody bid except for this guy who was 50 minutes late or so.
Right.
Okay. I'm thinking that we can do it. Let me double check that just to make sure. I can get you an answer this afternoon.
Okay.
Well, but let me
Is that what you're wanting to do, is
me
just to open this one bid, and if it's sufficient, just give it to him?
let's this John, I don't know what company he's with, but we went out and solicited a bid from him. At the very least, if we were going to do that, then we should solicit bids from other companies under the same policies. So I'm
Yeah.
having trouble understanding here how we can just go out to one company and ask them to bid on it when, for example, Caldwell, they were late, but why don't we ask them to bid on it in the same way?
Well, I think that was what I was thinking, to do it over again, but then we would have to run it 4 more weeks in the paper. I mean, if that y'all are okay with that, then yeah, but
I mean, I could reach out to Caldwell and say, hey, we want to just do labor only for these 2 streets. Give me a price on it. So, because I already have the tonnage for the rock and asphalt, so it's not going to change. Which is is a good portion. The asphalt and rock is what, $156,000, which is a good portion of it already. So,
So if they already bid on it with including everything, they've also made estimates as to how much rock and asphalt is required. And it might be useful information for them to provide that to us as well.
yeah, we can ask them to do that. I can make contact with them if y'all want to do that instead of rebidding it and see. I mean,
Yeah, it just seems to me though, Ella, that if we didn't have a successful bid and then we go out and we change the terms or the requirements of the bid, that we ought to give all the contractors the opportunity to do the same, so we get some competitive bids. Correct me if I'm wrong, but the SPLOST lasts for either, is it 5 or 6 years?
Yes, but we've already received all of our money. That's what I was going to go over. That's part of
Yeah,
my report
and I'm
today.
aware of that, but we're making a decision here on SPOS funds that we won't
Yeah.
get any more SPOS funds for 5 or 6 years. So, you know, I hate for us to have to go and redo some of this work, but I think timing wise, we can afford to take the extra time to make sure that we get, you know, give all the contractors equal chance to bid on it.
Yeah, I've got a list of people that got the actual initial bid document. If Doug says this is okay, I can reach out to them and ask them to have something to us, by the end of the week, to give them a fair chance at it. Because that should, they've already seen the plans and they've all come and looked at the road. So we could do that.
Is bonding an issue for most of the folks that receive bid packages?
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's why, only one or two of the firms around here have enough power to be able to do the bid bonds for, $300,000+. Because when you do all of this as one, it's going to be I would say in excess of $300,000+. So that's the problem. And also too, if they have other projects that they have ongoing, they've already got their bonds out for the projects that they're currently on. And a lot of times, paving companies, unless you get into, like Reeves or some of the bigger ones, they don't have the ability to do a lot of the projects like this.
Well, I certainly think we need to consider bids that from as many people as we can get. And I agree with Ed that we've got the time. We don't have a expenditure money. We don't have money that we can magically up here from SPLOST. We know what we got. So that's what I say about that.
Well, one thing is that I will caution you on, we do have the LMIG funds that have to be utilized, by the end of the year. That's one thing, and that's $34,000. So just and certain times of the year up here, you cannot do paving because of the weather. So.
Well, even if we took another 4 weeks, that'd be the middle of September. I think that would be.
Yeah, that's if I can get the bids out, because I'm in the middle of budget, so trying to get everything done is.
Now, regarding the SPLOST money, I think there's $390,000 worth of SPLOST money, and have we already committed to the SPLOST folks that we're going to spend 200 and only 200 on roads, and the rest of the money?
No, I have that in my report. If you'll hold on, Jim, that's after an item.
Well,
I believe the city has to commit certain funds. Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
Okay. Clearly, neither Alex Mountain nor Revel Circle is in such dire shape that another month or two is going to make a big deal about it. On the other hand, I hate to see the contracted work we've done go to waste. We're going to have to do, Alex Mountain and Revel Circle are still going to be near the top of the list, whatever we do. But just looking around Sky Valley, though, there's plenty of other projects, like Ridgepole is probably next in line. There's sections of that are worse than Alex Mountain. Alex Mountain looks bad because it's been patched so much, but the patches seem fine. I think we maintain speeds on Alex just fine. And yet I hear that there's, we know that Ridgepole is going to need it soon. Lover's Lane has never been paved. It's a short little thing that could very easily be done. Demarest Lane has never been on any list and has probably not been inspected. And it's probably in worse shape than any of those. We have Alpine, which we've been talking about it for 5 years. And the city needs to correct the mistakes that we made there last time. So, maybe we ought to be taking a look at the road situation with a little more council involvement to make sure that we all feel good about the priorities.
Well, and also Bill suggested that he would get that report from a professional road evaluator.
Civil engineer.
Yeah.
Right on.
I'll work on getting that in our hands.
Okay.
Okay. So the question is, do we have additional funds to take care of some of these other needs? Or as we go through the rebidding process, do we want to do something like add Lover's Lane, add the gravel needed to do a few spots on Alpine so that there's pull-off room? And again, like Alex Mountain, you don't have room to fix all the shoulders and expand all the shoulders, but you don't need that. You only need places where at regular intervals where people can pull off to the side of the road if they feel threatened by an oncoming UPS truck.
Well, Moody did an evaluation of all our unpaved roads. Did you all get that report? That email from Moody several months ago? Okay.
Yes.
So I think it was 5 roads, wasn't it, Moody?
Probably at least that much. We have some fairly long roads that have never been paved also.
Yeah.
And
I heard you
Walking Bear was sort of paved several years ago, but not really. It's in foul shape. But another thing about the road shoulders, it's not just to make it safe for cars. It also protects the shoulder of the road. If you don't build up the shoulder, the edges will eventually just crumble off. I've seen that on Sky High Drive where they recently paved. We were losing some shoulders there, some edges of the road. So the more shoulder buildup you can do, the better, even though it might necessarily be wide enough for a car to pull off of, but at least it'll help protect the road itself.
Well, obviously we have a finite amount of money that we can spend, and we need to be really judicious about spending it. So what is it you all would like to recommend?
I think we may just have to rebid it, and hopefully we can bid it for labor only and not materials. But like you say, there's a weather factor here. After November or so, the asphalt plant shuts down for the year. So you don't have all the time in the world to get this done.
Yeah.
Well, that makes sense as to how we should proceed in putting the bid out. There's still the question of what we want to bid on. Do we want to just stick with Alex Mountain and Rebel, or do we want to add some other things? For example, the road up to the hiking trail, we regraded it and we gravelled it not that long ago, but it's already washed out, and that's because of the slope. So it's steep. That needs to be paved if we want to keep that road from just disappearing.
Also, we've been talking about our emergency exit road also needs to be thought about too.
Thank you.
Well, let's do this. Bill, if you can get us the copy of the report that you talked about, and then Ella can go ahead and bid out like you suggested, Moody, and then we can always call another meeting if we need to. You all okay with that?
Well, I'd like to echo what Moody was saying. At this late date, I thought had made the decision some time ago, the priorities for doing the work. And Ella, we can't expect her to go out and rebid all of this if we're not in agreement on what we want to do.
Thank you.
Yeah. Now, I think Ella, what she said before, and after we look at Sprecker's report, if we see a couple of roads that maybe were left out, Ella can put those in the bid request as, like option 2 and option 3, just to give us an idea of the cost. And then in the meantime, we could also go back, see what kind of reserves we've got, or we can look at putting some more money in the public works budget for road work. So there's a number of things that we can do there, but I'm in agreement, I think, with what I heard Moody to say. I think we need to rebid it. And I would guess procedurally, this is a work session, so we'd have to put that on the agenda for next week to approve it. Would we?
Well, Ed, I would be fine with that. In the interest of making sure that we get something done.
Yeah.
Well,
on this.
let me just chime in here. If y'all are, if we get the report back from who, Mr. whatever his name is,
Sprecher.
Bob
if
Sprecher.
we get his report back and we can sit down and evaluate, I will wait till I rebid anything until we get that out. And what I think we need to do is if he can get that to all of us and we can get it in by the end of the week and everybody gets a chance to review it, maybe just go through and see, what his priority lists say, and then move forward, and see which ones. I mean, and if y'all decide y'all don't want to do Alex or Rebel, but I agree with Moody and Ed. I think, time, I know y'all say we got 5 years, but time is of the essence with the asphalt plant to get this done. So,
All right, so then we can agree that we'll talk about this Tuesday.
Between
Okay.
now and Tuesday, I think what Ella's suggesting, let's look at that report and
Yeah.
maybe, Holly, you could designate an expert from the group here to maybe work with Ella to review that report and then come up with an alternative recommendation or agreement to go as planned.
Right,
I think that should be Moody.
I do too.
Sorry, Moody.
Thank you, Moody.
You did it.
Okay.
All
Okay,
right, we'll do
All
that.
right.
Okay, all right. I
next,
got some direction now. Okay, all right.
Plan.
All right, let's see, next item on my list is review the West lease extension. As you all know, Ed and Denise want to stay to the end of the year. This is just actually adding them to upgrading their lease for $400 a month, which is what they're currently paying through December 31st. I just
Well,
wanted to review that.
I read the lease and it looks acceptable for sure.
Okay, good deal.
That was my read of it as well.
All right.
okay,
Good deal. Next item is our SPLOST funds. Jim, as we were talking about earlier, I sent you all a copy of the letter that we got from the Board of Commissioners with our last payment. They have completely paid us our $390,000. And there was a special checking account established for this. And the reason why you do this is because all SPLOST funds have to be accounted for separately. Each year, we're required to submit a report to the paper, and it has to be publicized, showing what money we've spent on SPLOST, that kind of thing. And also, too, for bookkeeping purposes, it just makes things a lot cleaner if you have a separate account. And just to give you a breakdown of what was approved with our SPLOST, it was $50,000 for buildings, $100,000 for equipment, and $240,000 for roads. With that being said, I'll give you all, since you all were not in office, I'll give you a little breakdown on what that was proposed to be used for. The buildings, the $50,000, we were thinking this was what was proposed to do something here at City Hall. I'll just give you a heads up. Our building leaks like a sieve, not the roof, but the siding. Our siding on the side of this building is rotten. If you took a screwdriver and went around this building, you would be amazed how rotten this wood is. So I think we need to do something different with the exterior of this building. If, we could plan to stay here, we definitely have got to do something. I sit here when it rains hard. I have water coming in underneath my wall because it's so rotten. So we're gonna have to do something with this. So, equipment, we had sort of put this out for additional public works equipment. We can look at different equipment. We like for different things that, James has recommended for his capital this year. They need like a new SUV, not an SUV, but a little sports utility vehicle, like a Gator, to use when they're doing weed eating and that kind of thing. They need just several different small, not major items. So that was something that we could consider as well. When you talk equipment, it does not necessarily mean you got to go buy this big piece of equipment and use all of the $100,000 in one thing. So it can be smaller items as long as they have a lifespan of at least 5 years. So just to give you a heads up on that. And the roads and streets is 240. That's pretty self-explanatory. Does not necessarily mean it has to all be used for paving. It can be used for the improvement of the sides of the road. Any questions, comments?
Sounds like we should be getting some bids on the city building.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. Let me get through budget first. Then we'll move forward, if you don't mind. Yeah, I've got a little experience with that as well. What I would recommend we do, I know, Bill, you've had an architect or have talked with one as far as the visitor center. And if we're planning on doing something with it, I think City Hall would definitely need to mirror that image. So if you have renderings or something that I could look at, or
Should have those in a couple weeks.
okay, good deal. So maybe after the first of the year, we can look at that and move forward with that part of it.
Bill, does that also include cost estimates?
No.
No.
That, obviously the first step is get some recommendations, look at some suggested materials, and then we have to go through a whole value engineering process to see how we reduce those costs, and then have to decide whether it's something we want to do or not.
Right. So in other words, considering that would be next year's business, perhaps.
Probably, yeah.
Okay.
I think a lot of work to be done prior.
Mhm.
Okay.
Anything else?
On the equipment side, if James is needing like a utility vehicle for some of their work, should we go ahead and present, I guess, that to the council for approval so you could move on that?
Actually, if y'all want to move forward with that, what I would suggest is that we sort of not do some of this year. Let's concentrate on the paving, and then after the first of the year, get started on some of these additional items, since in the middle of budget right now and doing some other things as well. So I think we need to sort of, I have some prices already on those sport utility vehicles. So he's already got some estimates. And then at the same time, if we find out there is a major piece of equipment, we can bid it out at the same time. Makes things simpler if you can bid them out together. Sometimes you get a better deal when you bid out more than one piece of equipment. So
I know that James and Jerry have mentioned they would like the council to consider purchasing a lift for their, for maintenance of the vehicles and so
Right.
forth. And I think that's something we need to talk about too.
it is. It's in his capital list. That lift is about $5,000 or $6,000 that they have. They've got pricing on that as well. Yeah, they definitely need that in the shop.
Now, the money for the bucket truck, we've already set that aside. Is that right?
Bucket truck's already paid for.
Okay.
We've already purchased the bucket truck.
Okay. I thank you.
All right.
Okay.
All righty.
Okay. All right, anything else on that one? Okay,
That'd be a no.
there'll be a no. Nobody's responding. Okay,
Any-
then
yeah.
the next
Anytime
one
you hear
is,
crickets, it's a no.
okay, all right.
And did
Yeah.
we reach a consensus that we do want to go ahead and take a look at the exterior cladding of the City Hall building? I know Ed suggested it. That resonates with me. Do we have an agreement on that, or?
Yeah, we said we'd do that after the first of the year. Yeah, I think we're good with that. Unless y'all recommend something else.
Well, that you're looking 6 to 8 months down the road. I'm concerned if you're getting water inside the building that,
Yeah.
that the longer we wait, the more damage you get. So
Yeah.
Should
just
probably get a
remember-
basic bid now for,
Okay,
and we
Alright.
can go from there.
okay, all right, just to give us some idea. Okay, we'll do that, because we'll have to get, I'll have to get an architect to look, but I didn't want to do too much until I saw the look of what you all were trying to do with the visitor center.
Well, I don't know that we need to go to that extent at this point. Because, that's a whole nother conversation, whether the visitor center happens or not, et cetera. So,
Okay.
To me, should get a bid to at least resolve the problem.
Okay, all right, I'll get that in. What I can do is actually just get not bids, but get some quotes and see where we're at. Just keep in mind, again, this is SPLOST funds, so therefore it has to be advertised and bid out, so it takes a while. But what I'll do is for now, just to give us, since it is an emergency situation, I can go ahead and just get quotes on that, so.
Ella, can Bob help you with that?
Can Bob help me with Bob Powers?
Yeah.
He possibly could. What he could do is maybe reach out to some of his people that he would recommend to do the job, to have them come by and look and give us their recommendations. Sure, we could reach out and do that with them.
Okay.
Okay.
So then we'd know, then we would know whether it was a total recladding or whether it's just some simple repairs on a spot basis.
Yeah, that's correct. That would be a good basis for you to be able to write the scope for the bid
Yeah.
process.
Okay. All right, we'll do that. Okay, my next item is the Public Works Culvert analysis list. I sent you all that list yesterday, and everything is done except for one item on that. Yes. And there also is the other issue that we've come up with now. Let's see, the only one that has not been on your list is the 740 Ridgepole. All the others have been rectified. They've already completed those, so they've already done all those. But the other major one that is not on the list, you all are aware that the culvert there at the club, we continue to have problems where not James, but Jerry and I met with Lamar that had done our Knob Drive job. And he actually came back and looked at it again with his waders on. We've come to find out we have a threefold problem. It's not just the culverts. It's back at the stream closer to the chapel, that area where that drain comes in. He is also looking at that as well for us and going to provide us an estimate for that. We've got problems with that drainage. That needs to be cleared out because that drain is backing up. That's causing part of the problem. Then you go down closer to the club where the two main drains are at. He's looked at that. He is recommending that possibly one of the steel pipes that we have there that would keep it. He said you can't even get that quality pipe, but he is looking at that as well. As you notice, there's been white flags out there. That is our proposed area that we've already had emergency locates done. He's come back, taken his measurements, and is working on getting us an estimate together what it will cost to do that. Where the third item is on up past the pavilion and going up that way. a lot of that growth, those trees have gone in, and as you well know, the way that drains, that is, with all those trees, is backing up. And that is another situation that he says is going to need to be rectified. So when he started investigating, it wasn't just that the culverts part of it had collapsed, it was a threefold item. And he has looked at all that. He said he's going to get us estimates for getting all that together. He recommended that what we needed to do was to have some of those ditches cleaned out, and he is providing a separate quote on that as well. So once I get those back, I will present those. I'll send those to you, and maybe we can get moving on that. And again, he did assure me that he can do the project and not have the road totally closed. He can do it half a road at the time. And I have no idea how much this is going to cost, but he felt assured and that he could do it for us and something we could afford. I said, well, just remember, we're very small. Please do. But he said there was no need to go through engineering. You know, he said that was not necessary. He does this for a lot of cities, a lot of smaller cities around. He was very confident he could do what he needed to do and could get us all cleaned up. So that would help.
When he's
What's this
talking,
person's name, Ella?
I knew he was going to ask me that. His name, I think, is
Lamar Hare. Is it Hare?
Hare Hires or something.
Yeah.
Hires, yeah.
Okay.
when he's talking about cleaning out the ditches, is he talking dredging the ditches and cutting down trees on the side of the ditches, or what?
Yes, well, the area closest to the chapel, he looked at where that pipe is coming in, and he was showing us where that pipe is coming in. There is a lot of growth there. He says, but also too, there's been a lot of silt that has built up. He recommends that we do dredge that. He said he said labor, he said you're looking at a day or two, possibly. And also putting some riprap there on that. But he said where it narrows up, where you see where it comes out and it goes, you know, it looks like it's maybe 7 or 8 foot, and then it goes down to 2 foot. He said that's part of your problem. He said he recommends dredging all that out. And Ed, you'll remember where we put the riprap on the side where we had that cave in, it's just back towards the chapel where that's at. You can clearly see it. He said that was an area that definitely needed some attention. He said he thinks that will help if we get that done. And also too, the area past the main culvert there, they're closest to the club pavilion. He said if you'll look at that, he said it's all trees and roots, and he said it goes real small, so that's part of the problem as well. He said if we clean all that out, he says we'll be in much better shape.
Well, he may need to provide us with a priority list of each of these little sections, because right now the obvious choke point is the culvert under the road at the club. And it's hard to believe that the backup is being caused by the roots downstream.
Well,
So if he can just prioritize what he thinks will give us the most bang for the buck, or what needs to be done first, or where the biggest constriction point is, I think that would be useful in helping us sort it out.
well, that's why he said it was threefold.
Let's wait and see what he has to say, because some of the issues that Ella's describing there, particularly where her crew went in there and put the riffraff in, that helped stop some erosion in there. But we recognize that there's still some work that needs to be there, some of which I think we can do ourselves. So
Yeah, we did talk about that while we were out there. We talked about doing it with our excavator, and he said our excavator is so small. He said it would take us 4 to 5 days. He said he can get one in here and do it in 1, possibly 2 days and be done with it. Because he feels like, because we talked about that when we were out there that day, and he said, he says, I think you'll be better off just to pay the labor. He said, you know, we can buy the riprap ourselves. He says, but for hauling purposes, we can get a bigger, you know, excavator in there and dredge it out a lot faster than what
I
we.
like that. Okay.
Yeah, I thought that was that, you know, that way you don't have all that mud, because y'all know it's going to cause a muddy road when they start dredging all that stuff and it's wet. And I mean, it's just, that's just the nature of the beast that you can't do anything about, so.
Just a stupid question, Ella. What do the numbers indicate on the report, the culvert report? Like number 3, number 5, number?
Oh, that was, if you'll see that, if you'll look at the work order, I had asked them to prioritize according to how they needed to go. On the work order, it stated, do a survey of all the culverts, list all culverts and rate 1 to 5, 1 being good to 5 needs to be replaced.
I don't see a whole lot of 1s and 2s.
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and that's why we had done that. I think y'all had even asked for that back in November of last year or so.
I did ask for it. You're right.
Okay.
But do I understand that all the culverts that identified with some issues those issues have been resolved? All but
Yes, sir.
one?
All but one. Yes, sir.
All right, kudos to the group for getting that
Yes.
done.
Of
Yes.
course.
There.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, the excavator has made a big difference. In fact, I was out there at the shop earlier this morning and the guy said it's got like 150 hours on it already, but it is 11 months old, but they're like, oh yeah, it's been worth its money. So.
Good. Okay. Let's move on. Tempest fugit, as they say.
All right, the next one is 2019 audit. I have checked with Jolie. I talked with her last week again. She hopes to have us ready by the end of the month, if not before. They're doing their final workups of scenarios, so hopefully she'll get that finished and we can present that maybe. I would say possibly at a September council meeting, we'll have our report, but as soon as I get the draft, I'll send it out to you all for you to look, and if you got questions, we can go from there. But usually they're pretty clear cut. She does a very thorough job, so.
Okay.
All right. And the next item I had on here, any questions, comments before I move forward?
No.
Okay. Nope, crickets, okay. Possible time changing for holding council meetings. I know this has come into play. I know there's people had asked if we wanted to change council meetings from Tuesday mornings to Tuesday night. If we wanted to change work sessions to right before the council meeting. I don't know how you all feel. I'll just give you a little scenario. Where I came from, we had council meetings twice a month. But we did our work sessions an hour prior to, which we know that would not work here because our work sessions go way beyond 1 hour. So something just to think about, you know, if y'all are looking at changing these, just keep in mind, majority of our citizens don't drive at night. So just, you know, when we open
That's
back
true.
up, that's something to think about. So, I mean, if y'all decide y'all want to do that, you know, or have further discussion, just let me know.
Also, it could mean that our employees would have to adjust their work schedules.
Yes.
Well,
Yep.
couple of comments. You know, I would be supportive of having, you know, on occasion, the council meeting after normal work hours, just so we get more participation from those folks that do work. That was the request that seemed to come out from a lot of conversations. Not that it would happen every time, but maybe every other one or every third one, et cetera. Something that's reasonable to give some more people an opportunity to participate. The second thing that seems to be popping up now is in-person meetings. And I just have 2 comments about that. One, that's always good if it's safe and we can socially distance. The second part of that is we seem to get a lot more participation on Zoom than we would do in person. And I think to have it, the bigger the audience for these meetings, the better. So that's what I got to say about that.
Okay.
I would like to reiterate what Bill said about a lot of people feel like, you know, if we just have the meetings during the daytime, it ignores the working population. Not only do they not get to participate, but they feel like they're not being invited to participate. you know, I don't know if it has to be every other meeting. We can give it a try. Like, for example, today, there's not that many people listening in, but maybe that's because we've developed a level of trust. People don't feel like they have to look over doing. And as for meeting in person, an older population, some people distance, unless everybody does, it doesn't work. We've got, well, until we got the vaccination or until the general incidence of this virus goes down, I don't see going back to the meetings that we, you know, are familiar with in the past.
Maybe we can we'll schedule one meeting after regular hours, so the working people can try, and we'll see how many people show up. We'll advertise it and
I like
see how
that.
it goes.
Idea.
Okay. Okay. All right. Anybody else? All right, go Ella.
All right, the next item is describing the 2021 budget process. As I talked about earlier, I'm actually already been working on this for about 3 weeks off and on. It's very time consuming, FYI. You have to go in, and what I do is I have previous years that I have on a spreadsheet. I go in and I update my spreadsheet with my actual numbers, and then I put in my year-to-dates, and then I have to go in and present my estimates that I think everything will end up at the end of the year. And the way this works is that you have to go back and look at your previous year's history as far as details. And it does take a while. Been working on it at home, trying to concentrate on it. Hopefully, maybe by the end of next week, I'll have something I can send to you all. I just ask that if y'all have something that y'all would like to have included in the budget, not wait till after the fact, because I need to know now. I already have my capital items from Public Works and the police department. Usually, like I said, City Hall, we don't have that much, so I don't have any capital items for us. But if you all know of anything y'all would like to be included, I know I've already got direction to add 2 new people to Public Works, 2 additional personnel. So that will play into it. Trying to think, there's a couple of other items that I've already included. So if you have something, please email me those items now, not later, because I don't want to build my budget and then y'all come in and say, well, we need to add this or add that. I need it now. We have tax figures in too. And just to give you an FYI, we're looking at possibly an increase, leaving the tax rate as it is at about 50 grand, which is good. But also too, adding 2 new employees, we may need to look at bumping that up. So y'all need to give me some direction how y'all want to go. Do you want to add the people and increase the tax rate, or, I mean, I need some direction. I know it's hard for you to tell me without looking at the numbers that I can present to you, but I don't want to be blindsided and have to go back and redo everything either. And there's one thing adjusting, but to redo everything, it is rather difficult, and, you know, trying to get numbers out to everyone, you and the public themselves, you know, because they have that ability to review these as well. So I just want to let you all know where I'm standing on that and give me some direction if y'all want something else added.
There was an article in the newspaper that talked about tax assessments have gone up, which would create more revenue tax-wise for us. So we need to look at that also.
Yeah, that's what I was talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So Ella, can you maybe share with us a kind of a bullet point list of any major assumptions that you're using for the budget, so we know what you're already considering? For example,
Okay.
you said you've got input from the police department. What things are they looking for? And
Sure, I'll share those with you. Okay.
in reference to adding 2 new people, what's the logic for that? Is there any, has there been some analysis to show what we could accomplish with 2 more people? And
Well, if you remember when I met with you, Bill and Holly back in, I believe it was May, that was one of the items that was discussed to possibly add 2 more people to Public Works.
Yeah,
Tell me if I'm wrong. I thought that was what I was asked to do, so.
I don't recall us asking you to do that. What I recall is it was discussed that maybe we needed more help, but there needs to be some kind of analysis to show what's not getting done to justify adding the more people. Other options, if there's specific things that aren't getting done, once you add 2 more people, you've got to pay those people rain or shine for, and all the benefits that go along with it. And I'm a proponent sometimes of looking for contractors that can bid on stuff, or that we actually can put them on some type of a work list where they can come in and attack some of these projects like trimming trees and that type of stuff, and may be able to do it for a lot less cost than what the city can. So I guess my point is, if we're going to add 2 more people, I'd like to see some analysis as to what's not getting done and how we think those 2 new people can help us meet that objective.
Okay, just to give you an example, this year with grass cutting, we have not been able to keep up with it. I mean, it's just, and I know the weather has played into it, but we don't have personnel to keep up with everything, with recycle garbage, you know, doing ditch repair, doing wells, doing water, you know, water upgrades. When you've got so many people, you know, and you're trying to spread them, you get spread a little thin. Some things, like I said, they go undone, and I understand what you're asking. You want to know what has not been done. So I will get with James and we will send that list to you.
And consider on some of the things that we're doing now, is it a one-time thing that we're fixing, like some of the ditch work, and you know, what it cost us to do some of those things versus if we went to a contractor, what we could get it done by contracting. Hence, we're not making long-term commitments to. I think you understand where I'm going.
Yeah, I do. And one thing is, like with the ditches, you all know those ditches have not been done 10, 15 years. So my one thing is that I want to make sure that those ditches are kept, that they're not left undone. But I'd like to, you know, I'd like to be able to get them the help they move. That we need to, you know, I don't want them, I don't know any other way to say this. I don't want them to get to the point, you know, we're not ever going to get any help and them just slow up either, you know. And you know that happens in this environment. You know, if I got to do all this, I'm just going to stop. So, and I don't want them to do or feel like that, you know. And they've been really good. They're excited about, you know, getting the new bucket truck. They're going to be able to do some additional tree trimming, you know, stuff that we have in the past actually contracted out.
We're certainly supportive of all that and giving everybody the tools they need. So, you know, Ed's just asked, is just, you know, good business sense to do a quick analysis that just so we can consider it and have a clear view.
Sure. Yeah, and the other part of the budget too is what happens is normally we do, just to give you a scenario of how it works. So we usually do 1, 2, you know, possibly 3 work sessions where we go over the budget. What I do is I send it to you all, you go through it. If you have questions, I ask that you email me the questions prior to the meeting so I can have the information ready for you when we do meet again. You know, I need your input. I mean, I can do this all day, but if I don't get input and responses from you, I'm sitting here spinning my wheels. Well, is this what they want or not? So that's why I asked.
I don't think you'll have any problem getting input.
All right, good deal. All right, okay. And what happens then, just to move on with this, what happens with this is that once we get this, we get to a point, then we advertise, because I have to advertise for our budget hearing. Also have to send out something for our tax millage rate, once we decide where we want to go with that, and all that has to go through the normal process.
You know, it would really be helpful, and as a best practice in most organizations is, you know, calendar some of these dates of when some of these things should happen. and we need
Right.
like it to happen so that we
Right.
can all appropriately plan our time.
Okay, I can do that. Yes, yes, that sounds good. Okay,
Thank you.
all right. Any other questions? All right, crickets again. All right, I have on here the review of the electrical quote for the Old Visitor Center building. I sent these all out to you. There is actually two quotes that are on here. There's one for the $1,600. And also too, I believe there is another one there that is for $1,850. I do have two quotes on each one. And this is the people from Demers that had given us this quote for the 1646 for the visitor center. So if you all in agreement, I don't even need a council approval on this particular one. I can get them to go ahead and get that done. If y'all,
You don't need a vote on this?
no ma'am, no, it's within my budget amount.
Questions, concerns?
The quotes were both pretty close together, suggesting that, everybody saw the same thing and came up with the same sort of solution. So I think we just go with the lowest bidder and
Okay.
I agree.
Right. Also too, attached with this, I went ahead and included with, and this one would require council approval if y'all decide to do this one. This was for the main entrance to remove the low voltage lighting, and install 120 volt landscaping lighting and, with photo cells and just updating that entrance to give it some more lighting. He had looked at this. They can't use anything that's there. So we, if y'all want to move forward with this as well, I do have a little money. Don't say this too
Well,
loud. I do have a little money to do this one.
That's my major question. At this point in the year, we need to make sure that we're on track to hit our budget, and we need to be very clear if we're going to do a project like this, that it's going to fit into the operating budget and not come out of reserves.
Right, it will. I have a little, when I built the budget each year, where I try to include a little bit of money to do some upgrades if we need them under the building and maintenance section. So I do have a little money that we can utilize for this if y'all want to present this at the next council meeting for approval.
That
I
would.
was a little unclear from looking at the proposal. It seems like we have a low voltage system now with some 50 something lights, and we're going to put in 50, 120 volt.
Yes,
lights.
he's right. He is removing and replacing to give you more lighting, because that was the question, that the low voltage lighting was not operating properly, but also too, that's something that we could actually go in and maintain, because as it is with low voltage, they cannot maintain what we have that's currently there.
So to sum up, want a professional lighting job done instead of a residential one.
Yes, sir.
Okay. How much brighter is it going to be than the entrance is now?
Much brighter.
What?
Much brighter.
Much brighter.
You'll be able to see it in Franklin.
In the space shuttle.
120 volts compare for 50 lights versus 50 low voltage lights seems to be like orders of magnitude brighter.
Yeah, it may not need that many lights.
That's where I'm going. I just don't know. How many lumens, total we have now, and how many lumens total we're going to have later.
Well, I think Moody has a light meter. He can go out and measure that, right?
We can measure both the current system and the new system before we decide. That'd be great.
Yeah, so let's go back to value engineering this a little bit. Let's see how it lays out and have that discussion, and maybe we can reduce the expense a bit and get the same effect.
And not get an overly bright, Winter's coming, it's dark. You lose your night vision when you come in the front entrance.
We'll get a driver for you.
Yeah, we need that soon anyway.
So who do we get to do this value engineering, Bill, do you suggest?
Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe that's just a couple of us taking a look at it and, you know, and we know that low voltage is, when you put landscape lights out low voltage, I mean, they're just accent. They really don't light
Yeah,
up
true.
much of anything.
Aesthetics.
Yeah,
And it's aesthetic. So, you know, I'd like to, you know, I'd be willing to sit down with, maybe me and Bruce can do it or something. And
Yeah, it's just a function of looking at it and tweaking it. You know,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
It's going to be just a little process, but not overwhelming.
I'll second
Because the
that.
good news, the good news is if we overvalue engineering, you can always add a couple more lights later.
that's true.
So Bruce, would that be done during the installation?
No.
No, prior, we're talking, I assume.
Yeah, I would like to see, to me, I would like to see a sketch of what the guy's proposing, where the lights are going to be and the type of lights. And then at that point, we can probably make some sort of educated guess at it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I thought the estimate was a little bare bones.
Until we
I'm
see
not
it
sure
at
they'll
night,
be
it's going to
willing
be
to
hard.
provide that.
Yeah.
And, you know, but once we evaluate it in the evenings, when
Yeah,
the true value of it is.
right, to highlight
experience.
the fence, I mean, the stone gate, and highlight the trees and stuff, that would be great. So you and Bruce, you and Bill, you will be lighting evaluators?
Yes, yes.
Okay,
And why don't y'all reach out to the electrician and see if they can get you what you want? Because I don't know that they're gonna be willing to do that.
Who are the electricians?
It's OK Incorporated, OK Electric Incorporated in Demorest.
You,
Okay.
Mhm.
the Gmail, the contact info.
Let's
To us.
see, it's on, yeah, if you look at their estimate, there is email on there.
Okay.
okay, thank you. All right, next.
I'll leave that one to you all, okay? The next one is, let's see, oh, finally, backhoe repair. We finally got an estimate back. The guy was finally able to give us an idea. It's not as bad as he thought. It's only $4,600 to fix it, so woohoo! I'm excited about that. We have had that thing down, but he said it's not as bad as what he initially thought. So he wants, you know, I told him, I said, I need to give you all the estimate for it. He said the hydraulics are weak, and he said he needs to put in a new hydraulic pump is what it is. And like I said, the estimate is $4,669.47. Again, this is an item that I can approve if y'all are ready to move forward with it.
If you are, we are.
I'm good.
Yeah, how fast can he do it?
He's already working on it.
Take him in.
Okay.
So good deal. All right. That's it for me.
Okay,
you.
Thank you, Bella. Where are we now? On the hit parade. We're at discussing creating a planning and zoning commission. Our city charter charges the council and the mayor to create a planning and zoning commission. Basically, this commission is to provide comprehensive city planning for development by zoning, regulations, and the like as the city council deems necessary, reasonable to ensure a safe, healthy, and aesthetically pleasing community. I have contacted 5 gentlemen who have agreed to be on this commission, which we will bring up at our Tuesday at our meeting for you all to vote on. The gentlemen are Dan McAfee has agreed to be on this commission and be the chairperson, Bill Oliver, David Spears, Ed Morley, and Don Germano. So any questions on that?
Not here.
Okay, and I appreciate all of them volunteering because it's important, and I see this commission working in tandem with the mayoral advisory committee, and I think it's going to be a great thing. Okay, next, where are we now? Nuisance properties. Doug, if you will just, excuse me, did I miss something?
Yeah, you did. You missed the discussion.
Oh,
of
the city
two
lots. Thank you, Ella. Mr. Kidd, could you just kind of go over the process real quick of us, with the possibility of us selling these properties in lieu of using auctions and sealed bids and possibly a broker?
Yes, I think that we had corresponded by email about a statute that Georgia has that basically gives kind of the city an option when it has surplus lots that they want to sell. The city can either set it up themselves by advertising the lots and going through a process where the city is in charge of selling the lots and taking bids on them. Or if the city wanted to, they could hire a broker through a bidding process, and the broker would take care of all that. I think the previous city council had looked at possibly getting a broker to do it just because there were a bunch of different lots to do, and they thought it would be more efficient to do it that way. But if the city's only wanting to do a couple of lots, which is what's on the agenda, then it may be more efficient just to have the city be in charge of that and not have to go through the process of getting a broker to do that. So which lots are y'all wanting to possibly sell?
There was a list of 16 lots that appeared in the workshop packet for February 12th of last year, 2019. This was just sort of a housekeeping issue. The idea, I think, was to get things back on the tax roll. Then in June 11th at the work session minutes, the city manager indicated that we would pull 3 lots that are on this list and not sell them. 2 of the lots are right across the street from the entrance to Sky Valley. The other lot has a city water tower on it, so it didn't need to be on there anyway. The point is, we're not trying to raise money. We're just trying to get stuff back on the tax rolls. And my concern, and the last council agreed, was that, we don't own very much land. We don't own our compactor. If we needed to replace a city or police or fire department, or if the building on 246 didn't work out for a new city hall, what would we do? And the 2 lots that are outside the front entrance are in a prime position to improve response times, to, just put the city hall in the city and make it convenient. Ordinarily, it wouldn't be a real concern if there was lots of flat land available. And this isn't flat either, but at least it's buildable. And so, eventually you'll have to see the list. You'll probably want to go around and look at these properties. I've inspected them all. I didn't see any other properties that we would need to retain. I didn't think any of them had the access that we wanted for an integrated hiking plan or a trail plan of Sky Valley. But just until we know what the future holds, I mean, we're in negotiations with Mr. Merrill that we ought to hold on to those 2 properties that the city could potentially use in the future.
My suggestion is now that, excuse me, Jim, my suggestion is that now that we're going to have an official planning and zoning commission, that we let them study the land usage and possible uses of some of this property and then make our decision.
Well,
I don't know this to be a fact, but I was told that those 2 lots were donated to the city for that purpose. And I think if someone gave those lots to the city for that purpose, we shouldn't sell them unless we kind of clear it with those folks and see if they want their lots back. And I don't know that that's the whole story, but that's something I think we ought to look into and see if that is the case, that those were donated to the city for that purpose. For public safety.
I was
technically,
told, Moody, that one of those lots was bought by the city.
Okay.
Correct.
That's what I've heard
Yes.
as well.
Yes, one of them was it, as
yeah,
you
we
said,
paid $40,000 for
Yep.
one lot, and the other lot was deeded to us as a gift.
Correct.
Was it earmarked?
Are they side by side? Are they adjacent?
yes, they are. That's the two at the entrance.
We all know more about it than I do then.
Doug, didn't you look
did.
look into this?
I
Yeah.
did. I've looked at the titles of all these, and if it were given to the city for a specific purpose, it would have been noted on the titles, and I didn't see anything like that on the real estate deeds.
Okay, again, I'm just going by the list and the information that was given us over a year ago.
So I think Holly's suggestion is probably the way to go forward right now. You know,
I'm
with
sorry?
Jim, Jim, you made a good point there that there may be some land we just want to hold on to for future. But then Holly's suggestions for planning and zoning to look at this, maybe come back with a recommendation of, hey, these lots could be, so whatever lots, we'll identify them, could be sold and recommend that they be advertised
Yeah.
for sale, because getting those back on the tax records is a good thing.
Now, of the 13, one of them has an adjacent landowner that is interested in buying it. There are, I don't know, 6 lots maybe up on Wild Bird Lane that I suspect people up there will buy just to keep that from being developed. It'd be tough to develop anyway, very steep.
Yeah.
But some of them I think would sell pretty quickly, and then the others will, you know, who knows?
And Doug, my understanding is these, regardless of whether we do it ourselves or we engage a broker, these have to be done, advertised and done with sealed bids
Or auction.
or auction. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, neither of which is designed to really bring in the most money, but then that's not our, in this case, not our real concern.
Other than the fact that we can put them out for bid and set a minimum.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Can we do that, Doug?
Yeah, you can. And I think just talking and looking at how some other cities have done it, that's getting a broker does have value just because they are maybe aware of people in the market for such things, and they can kind of drive that towards the bidding process. But I don't know. It's up to y'all. If y'all want to have the city be in charge of it or to get a broker, it's up to y'all.
Well, let's wait till we hear from planning and zoning, and then we can make that decision. Is that okay with y'all?
Yes.
Okay. Any other comments about that?
Just that you told me there wouldn't be much to do on the planning and the zoning committee, Holly.
Well,
but,
We'll talk about that later, Ed. Okay. I think, all right, we need to I know Bruce has volunteered to be in charge of looking for some properties that fit the bill of in our new nuisance ordinances. And Ella, did you need to talk about the process of what the city does when they are identified?
Yeah, I'll be glad to go to that. Bruce had sent me a list.
I think there was a list of 4.
Yeah. That you had
Some of
sent
them
me.
didn't have street numbers,
Yeah.
but some of them looked like they hadn't been lived in for quite some time.
Yeah. And also too, I sent out the letter, the letters that were sent to the property owners, so you have a copy of those in your packet as well that I sent yesterday. All but one is complete. There's only one that has not had any response. And Bob, and it's the 973 Alpine. And I will tell you, that lady has reached out to us. She has the funds nor the ability to do anything about what she has there. She's got the house for sale, but she's not going to be able to do anything at this point.
So what does our ordinance say if that is the case, Ella?
And if that is the case, what we can do is that we can either take her to municipal court, Or what we can do, and Doug, correct me if I'm wrong here, what we can do is we can go out and have someone do the work and put a lien on her property for the work that was done.
That is true. Yeah.
So we have two options. Even if you take her to municipal court, she can't afford to do it. So you're pretty much wasting your time taking her to municipal court because she can't pay to have someone do it. So therefore, you know, she's not ever going to pay the fine. So you're just adding, you know, more fees that she can't pay. So if y'all feel like it's substantial enough to go out and do something, you know, we can have the work done and have a lien placed on her property. Just keep in mind that the legal process for that, it's not that hard, but it is rather expensive. So we may be able to just, you know, if somebody wants to go volunteer and do what she needs doing for this elderly lady that is unable to do it, this would be a good deed.
And you say her house is for sale?
Her house is for sale. Yes, she has
And-
called us and told us that.
Give us an estimate of the legal costs that you referred to.
I would say just for the legal cost, Doug, and you correct me, just for you to prepare the lien, I'm thinking $400 or $500, and you know it's going to cost that much to get a contractor and do what little bit of work she's got. If we had somebody that wanted to do a good deed, they could go out and clean her little front yard and be done with it. Is what I would recommend. We can get some volunteers.
Any other comments?
No, I mean, the feedback that I had gotten to kind of prompt me to take a look around is in an effort to market Sky Valley. They're kind of sore behind looking, and at some point, what do we do to mitigate that as economically as we can?
No, well, that's
Because
what I'm
they-
saying. Yeah.
There's some properties though. It's not just clean up the yard. I mean, they've got decks that are condemned and there's some physical problems with the structure.
And there's one that's black and white. It's a very vertical looking home. Actually looks like a haunted house that, and I
Yeah.
can't remember, Ella, what street it's on.
Mhm.
But riding around over the years, I don't think I've ever seen anybody
No,
at
it's
that
not.
residence.
That's abandoned. I think the owner of the property across the street owns that property. And it's terrible. And actually, the doors are open on there.
Hmm.
They're standing open.
If you can give me an address, we'll get it addressed.
I
mean,
can't remember if
we
it's
can-
East Sugarbush or Buttermilk. It's
Yeah, it's there somewhere. May have to revisit that. I think it's in it over in your area, Bill.
yeah. Yeah.
Well,
And it's,
let-
I mean, it's 3 stories, rectangular, straight up building.
Oh, I know
Black and
which one
white.
you're talking about. Yeah. Because I asked what that was when I first saw it.
Yeah, it looks black and white.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That
Okay.
house was originally built to be sort of a European type hostel with about 10 bedrooms.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's probably been remodeled a time or
And
two.
no
since then.
kitchen.
Yeah.
There's no
old.
kitchen in
It's
it.
probably built in the early 70s.
So we
I
can
mean,
get
is it
Bob-
restorable? It may be in such degradation that tear it down.
Oh, I just had a comment. It says it's on East Sugarbush.
Okay. So we can get Bob to go out there and then you all can send a letter to that property owner
Yes,
to
we'll get some
mitigate
photos.
that building.
Yeah,
If you
and
need
I'll
some-
check and see if there's actually ever been any action on that. For some reason, I want to think we've already tried something with this one, so we'll see how far we get with it.
Good.
Thank you for doing that, Bruce, and thank Bob Powers for working with us. Thank you, Ella.
Mhm.
And we will try to get some of this cleaned up. I think that'd be great. Anything else we need to discuss? Well, it's been an hour and 35 minutes. I guess we need to move on. Before I ask for an adjournment motion this morning, I want to ask everybody to be really safe. The latest COVID figure is they now have officially 234 positive cases in Rabun County. Hope everybody stays safe. Thank everybody for hanging in there with us and participating. Thanks to you all for participating this morning, Council and Ella and Doug. Thank y'all. Do I hear a motion for adjournment?
So make a motion.
It's
a tie.
I believe it was unanimous. Do we need to, we'll vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Ella.
Thank you.
You're
Aye.
welcome.
Well,
Thanks,
Bye-bye.
Ella.
You're welcome.